You're listening to episode 54 of the Comm Cafe. In today's episode, it's part 2 of my series on profiling CPA accountants. In today's episode, it's Michele Maher, a former CPA turned jewelry designer. Michelle's now living out a childhood dream of designing her own jewelry. And sit back and enjoy this episode when we hear about how Michelle's gone from designing Barbie clothes when she was 13 to working for one of the biggest banks in Canada, and now the owner of Michele Maher Designs. Sit back and enjoy an interview with Michele Maher. Hey, welcome to the Comm Cafe. I'm your host, Dwayne Richards. This is a place for entrepreneurs, small business owners. We talk about mindset, personal development, and we bring on guests, also about mindset, and we bring on guests, and this is the second part of my my accountant series. Now, my guest, she is actually a recovering accountant. She spent her career as an accountant and then did a shift into something new and exciting and really, really cool. So I want to welcome my guest, Michele Maher. And Michele, like I said, was a CPA. She spent her time in the corporate world, and then she did the step into entrepreneurship. She is a business owner and a jewelry designer. So, Michele, welcome to the Comm Cafe.
Oh, thank you, Dwayne. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Now, I know a little bit about your story because we've actually met a few times. We have a lot of common friends. We actually did a Colin Sprague event together, and we were partnered up. So I know.
Right. Yes.
I know, you know a little bit of the deeper side of my story, and I know yours. But maybe just share a little bit, because some people might say, "Wow, CPAs we are cool people," but going from a CPA to jewelry design, it could be a bit of a big step. But maybe just share a little bit about your passion for fashion and jewelry and design, even at a young age, that you kind of did that, but then you maybe played not necessarily the safer route, but you went into the accounting because we're all good. Some of us are really good at numbers and that you were good at it, but then you shifted back. So maybe share a little bit of that shorter story.
Sure. Yes, for sure. Thank you, Dwayne. Yes, back when I was probably 13, 14 years old, I have a younger sister, and we always played with Barbies, and I was getting to the point where I was too old to play with Barbies. So what I ended up doing is I started to make Barbie clothes, designed them, and I sewed different Barbie fashions. Basically, that's what I love doing. So I got a sewing machine and started designing. At the same time, as you were saying, I always was good at math. I was good at numbers. I always A's in math going through high school. And I had actually helped my dad out with his business as well, doing some of the bookkeeping, accounting for him. So I had wanted to go to Ontario School of Art, but for fashion design, but it was kind of the whole concept and the idea of being a starving artist was kind of out there from my parents. And the safer route in their mind, of course, your parents always want the best for you. They want to make sure that I had money to live on. So they suggested I go to U of T for a Bachelor of Commerce degree, which is what I ended up doing. And I went and got my accounting designation. I started out working at a CA firm. Then I worked at the provincial government in a Crown corporation called the Ontario Financing Authority for a few years. And then I ended up at Bank of Montreal in the finance department, in the chief accountant's office, actually, right at First Canadian Place, doing the statements of the bank, doing accounting for derivatives, financial instruments, complex accounting transactions, mergers, things like that. So very complex. But I always had this creative side. So while I was doing the accounting for a corporate career, I was also designing jewelry for myself for gifts for family and friends as well as myself to wear, because I never wanted to look the same as everyone else. And I never wanted, I didn't like anything that was out there. I had these ideas in my head. So that's what I continued to do. So basically I was at Bank of Montreal for just over 12 years. And then what happened, it was after March break. I had just come back from March break vacation, went into a meeting with my superior at the time, and she started off the meeting, "I'm so sorry," and then she gave me an envelope, and I was just in shock. I didn't know what was going on. And then it hit me that I was being given a severance package. Total, as I say, it was a total shock to me. I didn't expect that at all. Of course, after that, it was anger. That's always your emotion. And but then when I sat on it after a while, I came to the realization that I was actually being given a gift. That this was my opportunity and my chance to actually do what I really wanted to do. And I always had this in the back of my mind that I wanted to start my own jewelry design business, which is what I have now done.
And like I said, it's when you get over that initial shock or that anger, and then say, well, here's a great opportunity, because again, given a severance package, you have that opportunity to say, well, I can invest it, I can apply it, I can do whatever I want with it. And a great way is to say, I now have a lot of time to then say, okay, I have this window of time to start something. And the cool thing is that you were already doing it. Like you're already doing a little bit of already designing. So it wasn't like you started something brand new to say, okay, how am I going to do it?
Right.
You were already doing some design, and you're like, now I have the time. So now I can take my hobby and do it more full time. Was that kind of how it materialized, or was the business very different?
Yes. No, that is definitely how it materialized. Of course, at that time, I had no idea what this becoming an entrepreneur had to do with, and I didn't realize how different being an entrepreneur is to working in the corporate world. And I've come to, and there's a lot of learning that you go through, of course, and I've come to realize that a lot of stuff you have no idea when you're working in the corporate world. You really don't. So there's been a lot of personal development, learning, and the people that I've met since becoming an entrepreneur, it's amazing.
All right, and with that, what was the, how early did you seek out advice, whether mentors, coaches? How early did you do that in your path along the entrepreneur route? Did you say, oh, I'm just going to be able to do this on my own for a while? Or did you seek help pretty early?
I started out, I have a friend who has a business, web hosting actually, and he actually hosts my website. So I did speak to him with respect to setting up a website and things like that. I ended up going out with a service to set up my website that already had e-commerce in place. Then I decided that I was going to have so-called open house at my home, where I would try to sell the pieces of jewelry. And I kind of did that before I started going out to networking events. I guess I also was announcing this kind of thing. I was already on Facebook before I started my business. So then I used social media, of course, to announce it, that kind of thing. And then I ended up going to some networking events. And the first group that I found was the Mompreneurs group. I'm going to find through Facebook. Ended up going out to meeting there, and I ended up with a business coach through Mompreneurs. Somebody that I met at Mompreneurs. And I ended up joining into her program. And that was probably that was actually just shortly after I really started. So it was actually, to me, it was a bit early, I think. I think it was a bit early to be signing with the first coach that I ever met.
Because sometimes because again, you like we spent so a good chunk of time in the corporate world that we get out into this new space and we get really excited. We meet all these people that we've never met before, and we don't, sometimes we just don't really know. We're like, okay, well, here's someone I like, and then we kind of forget to put our corporate hat on to say, if I'm doing a RFP or a request for proposals, I'm going to go out and like find 3 or 4 different people and interview them first. Sometimes
exactly,
we jump right into the first person we've met.
Right. That's one thing I would say. I jumped into it, I think, too quickly because, like I say, I didn't really look at other options. So of course there was a lot of learning there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then after that, I started a lot of networking, different groups, going to a lot of networking events. So I met a lot of people in that first year.
Yeah. What was your biggest challenge looking back to say? Was it, the fact of being self-employed, that you're managing your time, figuring out, what to do? What was the biggest challenge going from your 9-to-5 corporate job to being a business owner?
I would say that just not knowing anything and meeting so many people and being thrown so much at you. Everybody wanting you to join their program and that kind of thing, and not having the direction to, you basically don't know anything in terms of building a business when you come from the corporate world. So it would have been, this business coach did help me in laying the foundation for sure. Because when you don't know, when you have no sense of direction and there's so many things being thrown at you and so many different programs out there and different points of view and different people, you kind of get into overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. And I can relate. I can definitely relate to that, like myself too, because sometimes they say, because we had these corporate roles, we were at high levels of, you and myself. And they're, well, you did that, so you just must know. And I'm like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know anything about taxes because, we had third-party accountants come in to do the taxes of the corporation. So I knew about how to prepare for an audit, but I didn't know what was like all the intricacies of, say, personal tax returns for self-employed or entrepreneur.
Right.
I didn't know that you could write off stuff. Not until I took his course, and I'm like, wow, that made my life a whole lot easier. Now I actually have my own course teaching people about taxes. But you're right. We'll have to find a coach and say, here, it's almost to say that. And I know some of the, like, we live here in Toronto, that there's the Toronto different organizations in the city where it's kind of like business 101, where they can learn a little bit about bookkeeping, you can learn a little bit about marketing, you can learn a little bit about social media. And it's really to put that package to say, well, here's all the different things that you need to know a little bit about. Don't try and be an expert in them, like still be an expert in what you do, but just have an awareness. So when you're going to hire or outsource or find someone when you're out networking, you have an idea of what they're offering, whether it's good or not. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, us as CPAs, we know if someone has as a CPA designation, we know there's some level of professionalism and there's a knowledge level. In the entrepreneurial space, there isn't that. Like, you don't know if your web designer is certified or knowledgeable. It could be some web designers are like 14 years old and really good, but it doesn't really mean it's hard to do that. So, what's the, because I know now you've learned, so what are some of the, based on your learnings, what do you do a little bit differently today when you're approaching that next level coach that you need, or when you're partnering with a supplier or a vendor or a joint venture or the networking groups? Maybe more about networking groups. How do you choose now where to spend your time in networking versus where you maybe spent when you first started networking?
Right. That's a really good question because when I first started, I was just going to every networking group. And there you can spend so much time. And of course, it's not just your time at the networking, but it's your time going there and getting ready to go and your follow-up after. So there's a lot of time investment involved. And what I found is I didn't have, because I was going networking event to networking event to networking event, I never had time to follow up or even absorb anything. That's the thing. So it ended up, I got all these cards. I have no idea who anybody is because I don't remember anymore. And one thing I'd have to say, the biggest learning is the whole idea of follow-up. It's more important to do the follow-up than it is to go to the networking event in the first place. Like, if you're not going to do follow-up, you might as well not bother going to the networking. Because you're just going to end up, like I say, with a pile of cards at the end, and you have no idea who anybody is, and they just sit there on your desk. And I've met so many people that say the same thing. So the most important thing is to do your research and figure out what networking group or what networking event. Well, it all comes down to knowing who your ideal client is and getting that down pat and knowing who you want to speak to, whether it's your ideal client or anybody that you might want to collaborate with as well. Mm-hmm. And then figure out if they're going to be at this event, and then figure out and have a plan as well. When you do go to any networking events, plan out what you want to do. You're better to talk to one, 2 or 3 people and really have a conversation and then do the follow-up after, than to get 20 cards and talk to 20 people and then you don't even remember. So it's all about relationship building. The whole entrepreneurial world it's all sales in general is relationship building. And that's what you want to focus on, is building relationships with these people that you meet at networking events. And same with it, and being a part of a networking group as well, where you see the same people on a regular basis, you're going to build relationships with.
Okay. So all great tips. I am guilty, just like the rest, a lot of people. I have like shoe boxes full, or like boxes full of business cards. So what, just as a quick, how I can link back to what I'm doing differently for 2018 is now I've actually made a list of people that I've met, and I haven't learned enough about them. So now I'm actually cycling back and engaging with people to actually bring that relationship deeper, to then say, I'm still meeting new people. I met some new people yesterday, but I'm also going back and spending time to identify on a daily basis people to re-engage with, because their business or where they are today versus 2 years ago is different than where I was 2 years ago. So that's a quick tip for anyone who's listening, is do a bit of both. Have a intention to meet new people, but also go back and look at people that you knew a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and just reach out to them and say, hey, where are you today? Because I'm different, so maybe they are as well. So that's a quick tip that I'm doing.
That's a great idea, actually. That's something that I think I will implement as well, because I've met, like, again, I have so many friends on Facebook and on the social media groups. Definitely a good idea to go back to some of those people.
I'm calling it my contact 10. So actually, I started the year identifying 10 people that I just wanted to send a direct message to on a daily basis. So whether it be in LinkedIn, Facebook, either using LinkedIn messages, or just Facebook Messenger, and so just direct messages. And so I love it when people are complaining about we all get frustrated because of Facebook changing the algorithms, but I'm like, I already have a lot of people that I'm friends with. So not everyone uses Facebook Messenger, but a lot of people do. And I just send people direct messages just to say, hi, happy birthday. What's new? Here's what's going on. And some people reply, and those are the people you continue with. Other people don't. And then you're like, okay, I just move on. So that's I call it my contact 10.
Okay.
So, because I was all about like 200. If you did 200 of those a month, 12 for 10 months, that's 2,000 people. And one of the theories is, like, if you reached out to 2,000 people, you're bound to find at least a couple get a couple clients or customers out of just reaching out to 2,000 people in a year. Not impossible.
Right. That's very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. So that's all right. Now where do we go next? I think we had this little conversation. The importance of systems as an entrepreneur, because I know you talked about it, so that you have a nice website and you're actually able to do some of the e-commerce. So for example, I can go to your website and I can place an order for one of your products off your website.
Mm-hmm.
A system, it doesn't have to be fancy, it can be just Excel, but a system to say, okay, who are my customers, who are my clients? Because in your business, if someone bought a piece of jewelry from you last year, chances are they may want to buy something from you this year. So again, it's how do you keep track of that? And then just again, the follow-up, because I know you belong to some, now you talked about it, some more of the like regular networking groups that meet on a regular basis.
Yes.
You talked about follow-up, so maybe I'm asking you 3 questions at once. So systems. So what do you do first for tracking sales or customers?
Okay, so for customer lists, I'm using MailChimp. Right now for my email marketing system and my customer lists. In terms of invoicing and things like that, my website does some of it on the e-commerce side. It already produces and maintains all that, and then it ties right into MailChimp too, so that's good. But then I have other sales that are done outside of that, which I am manually tracking, which is probably not the best thing in terms of the systems. That's one thing that I would definitely say is another area, again, where you can get overwhelmed, is trying to keep track of everything and having a good system in place. There's so many systems out there that you can use and so on and so forth. But I'm finding that with MailChimp and my website also goes to PayPal, then I have PayPal where I invoice out some people as well, so I kind of have to merge everything together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, part of it was to say it's also good to be aware, but don't get bogged down in trying to put all this stuff together. Like, go get sales. So some people do it the other way. It's like, oh, I have to have this integration, I have to have this accounting system, and I have to have it talk to this, I have to talk to this, and they get so bogged down in putting this perfect system together, they don't have any sales to keep track of. So the other way is to say, okay, go get some sales, and PayPal works fantastic. Just having people send you an e-transfer also works. And then as you work with your clients, then you say, yes, at my website, I can start to do this piece. And then you start to build on it as your business grows as well. You have a vision of where you want it to go, but it doesn't have to be, the idea is it doesn't have to be perfect from day one. And the key is, take action and go get some customers, because I think some people get overwhelmed with trying to get everything to perfect, and they forget that until they have customers, they're not really in business.
True. Yes, that's true. And some people think they have to go out there and spend all this money to have some perfect system in place. But in the meantime, as you say, if you don't have any customers, what good is that? Spending all this a monthly, same with that's why I'm using MailChimp right now to maintain it. I'm using the free version, but I know I've looked at Infusionsoft, and people have raved about it and everything, but again, the monthly cost is there, so it's best to build it up. And because of my former background as an accountant, I also use Excel for a lot of my record keeping.
Hey, Excel still works, and the great thing is that kind of a delicate balance, because sometimes if we spend too much money on the software pieces, we don't actually have any money for the marketing. So this is something where it's a delicate balance to say, I personally use MailChimp as well. So as a quick example, I have my podcast, which we're listening today, and people can go to communicationsforresults.ca and listen to it, or they can also go to Podbeam, and on Podbeam, as soon as I publish it, I have it connect to my MailChimp, so it sends out an email to my list to say, hey, I have a new episode done. That's all done automatically for me on a platform that's free. So you're right. Like, it's also to say, and I'm good for MailChimp up to well, I think almost 2,000
Yes.
users. So then sometimes people are like, oh, I'm here, but then it's like, well, before you go to the paid version, maybe do a cleanup of your existing list, because yes, maybe you have 2,000 people or approaching 2,000 people, but maybe some of those email addresses aren't valid anymore. So it's also reminding people, regardless of the system, Constant Contact, MailChimp, Infusionsoft, is to do that cleanup, because don't pay for contacts that are no longer valid, because you're wasting your money.
True, definitely. That's the thing, yeah. And that goes to another whole area that gets very confusing for everybody, and it's the whole social media and email marketing and marketing itself, and the amount of money that you could spend on all of this before having any direction. It's just crazy.
Yeah, delicate balance. All right. I want to thank you for your time today. Now, we haven't shared. So, hey, can you share your website? Or, because I know you're on Facebook, but also what's your website address? So if people are listening and they want to go and actually see your designs, and like I said, you can actually order some of your product right from your website. So what's your website address?
Sure. Yes. Yes. As you say, Dwayne, I'm on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. But and my website address is michellemaherdesigns.com, and it's Michelle with one L, so MicheleMaher designs.com. And I just so I can get it out there, I basically do custom work. I also have things for jewelry designs on my website for order, but I also do in-house parties, jewelry styling sessions for people, and jewelry repurposing and repair. So if you ever have any jewelry sitting around there that you don't use or in need of repair, redesign, things like that, I also do that. So.
Which is always great too, because I know, I'll say this politically correctly, some women have, a collection of jewelry that you just, fashion trends change. And the idea is if you had some nice pieces that you could go back and give it to somebody and sit down and actually redesign it or repurpose it so that it doesn't.
Yes, and also all women like to get new looks all the time. So that's the other thing. You get bored of some of your jewelry.
Yeah. Now, and just to put it out there too, if we have male listeners, that you also do some bracelets and stuff for men as well. And you did a couple of projects for me. You actually put a new lanyard on a piece that I have with leather. So there's also, it's not just for, though the bulk of your stuff is for women, but the
bulk is for women, but I will be launching this year a men's line for sure.
Yeah.
It's already in the process, and I already do it, like you say, custom work for men as well. But I will be launching online a men's.
Wonderful. And I just want to put that out there, because some people are like, I have my male listeners say, that I don't, she doesn't have anything for us. But not only could you, you do, because if someone has a wife, and and we're actually recording this in January, so Valentine's Day is fast approaching. So. But there's other occasions. There's anniversaries, Christmas. I got some gifts at Christmas time from you for the kids. So
yes,
it's just something. It's something different. That it's not just going to the regular department store jewelry department, and you do, your designs are unique. So if someone's looking for that unique piece for a special event or to go with an outfit, that's what you're good at.
Right. Yes, and I do offer gift certificates as well.
Because that's always a good idea too, because sometimes guys have a different taste. They think they have a taste that they think they're not something that they know their wife or girlfriend wants.
Yes, and I'll work.
Just give a gift certificate, then let them go and pick it out themselves. So.
And I'll work with the recipient to design exactly what she wants.
There we go.
Suits her personality and style as well. So.
And that's important, and that's amazing about, again, having your own business, that you can customize what areas of of it that you do or what you want to offer as a service. So, all right, Michele, I want to thank you so much for stopping by the Comm Cafe today. It's been fun catching up and just learning a little bit more about the people that I've met.
Okay, thank you very much, Dwayne. It was great to be here.
All right. And I want to thank the listeners for stopping by. And remember, if you want more details, just go to the show notes at communicationsforresults.ca. There I'll have some links to Michele's website, her Instagram account, Facebook. Just in case you missed how to find it, you can just go to the show notes and just click the link and make your way over to MicheleMaherDesigns.com. All right. Have a great day and stay tuned for the next episode of the Comm Cafe.